Hello and welcome to the Sports Blog on the Greater STL Sports Network. Robert Bolsey here with you. You can tweet me at RBolseyJR. You can tweet the Greater STL Sports Network at Greater STLSN. You can find us on YouTube and Twitter. You can find us on YouTube and Facebook at Greater STL One Word Sports Network. And we are just about everywhere now. Spotify, everything. I downloaded this new app called Anchor, which is like the greatest thing in the world. We might do some things with that to, put things on because it will add stuff to our stuff. We might try to do something else. I do want to do the 2 sports show with football and NBA, the 2 other sports. We got to find a better name. But we're gonna make this. I'm trying to step up my game. Now, I've been lazy. We're about 3 days late on this podcast, technology and stuff. And it's nice when something disappears into the cloud because I don't know how to use the cloud. So it's nice to lose a podcast, a whole podcast. But that's the benefit of me being me is I can talk shit 200,000 minutes a day. So it really doesn't matter if I mess up an hour one or I mess up a 2-hour one. So we're going to get on it today. Happy holidays, everybody. Happy Halloween, whatever you want to say. Now, a big debate that I had with myself, of course, was, is Halloween a real holiday? And then I got to thinking, is there any holiday a real holiday? There's a couple. New Year's, kind of like a holiday. It's like a real holiday. But just like Christmas and Thanksgiving, now the rest of them are kind of made up. I understand on Christmas you're supposed to be celebrating the birth of Jesus, blah, blah, blah. Thanksgiving, you're supposed to be selling the pilgrims selling in America. But is it a real holiday? And there's actually a petition out there to actually move the holiday from the 31st to the last weekend of October. Because Halloween does seem to always fall on a weird day. This year, it's on a Wednesday today. The day I'm recording the podcast. I think last year it was on a Thursday. I understand changing up because of the kids in school and all that. People have to work. It's not though, that you're staying out too late. It gets dark early enough to where you can get your kids out there for a couple hours. And do something with them. I'm not a big fan of the holidays anyways. Because they kind of F you on the last 3 months of the year with Halloween, Thanksgiving, and Christmas. And then New Year's, and you consider that a 4th month if you want to. But then I got Jake's birthday on the 16th. And then after that, I'm free till April. I don't think people go around celebrating Valentine's Day with their kids. And I say, hey, you want some flowers? I guess you could get them some candy. Be like, hey, that's what everybody else gets. It's, people usually only celebrate it with their significant other. And you hear that, ladies, I'm single. So, you got the Twitter. You can also find me on Facebook. I wouldn't recommend that. Or you can email me at rbolsbyjr314@gmail.com. However you particularly want to do it. I'm free anytime. But it seems like the Halloween's become a much bigger holiday over the years. And I'm going to guess that's because of social media and stuff. I just don't remember growing up and worrying about anything on Halloween. You're going to walk around, you get some candy, you're going to come inside in the crib. That's what you're going to do. Now you got to worry about your kids walking by themselves. People are messed up. And now it's another excuse to party. I think people had Halloween parties before that I remember. I guess it's because my parents were younger at the time that they had kids. You didn't really see it. I didn't really get to see it as much as you would think. But it just seems like it's celebrated more. It also seems like there's a lot more worse things that can happen. People effing with the candy. You got people out here looking to pick up kids. Just weirdo stuff. Like stuff that you would never, ever, when you were in me growing up, it would be the last thing on my mind. And now you literally have to tell your kids these things. Like, hey, when you go out there, be careful and watch this and watch that. Like, you literally have to watch what goes on out here. And it's people are messed up. People, it's a whole different world. And like, I'm out of the loop. I'm one of these people that try to stay out of the loop. I don't want to know. It took me 3 years basically to figure out what the hell was going on out here in the county. Probably mostly because I didn't want to be involved. I had much better things to do. It just seems like a big thing. And like, the people are just, and it all goes into a part, the way you grew up most of the time, or just people like this thinking, acting on their thoughts. I guess it's a weird thing. I'm just out here to get some candy and dress up like motherfucking a transformer and get out of here and just enjoy yourself. It's almost like it's hard to enjoy anymore. Now you got kids and stuff. It's easier to enjoy. You get to dress up your kids. They get to have fun. They get to do the school stuff. They get to, share some extra time with their friends that they usually wouldn't have. Because most people, you bring your kids at night for dinner around, dark time. You make sure all their homework's done. You make sure of this and that and the other. So it's, I guess it's just a whole different world. And then, it's really easy for me to be figuring out lately. Like holding a door for somebody. I grew up like that. I grew up as in you treat people with respect. That's just the way my dad always taught me. But it seems like a chore now for you to do. It really does. It seems like that like someone's telling you that you have to open the door for them almost. And like what I really want to do is I really want to go get some jogging shorts. And I want to open the door for somebody and them not to say thank you, which is an everyday thing. Like when I'm at work, I do it and I get a little more thank you. I'm going to guess that's because of the nice pretty hat I wear. But what I really want to do is open the door for somebody. And then when I see them, like, and just make sure you're right in line in front of them. Like, maybe, got a person behind you and you see the guy, 2 or 3 people behind you. Gas station moving pretty quick. Acts like you're bending over to tie your shoe, one ball hanging out, and just crop dust the F out of somebody. Act like you're going to hold the door for them, let them go, let them walk out, and just light them up. I think that's only fair. I think that if you can have the common courtesy to say thank you, I don't have the common courtesy to hold. And some silent but deadlies. And it's not just stuff like that. It's like even people at work. Like I knew, like growing up. I talking the English language for you here. I knew that growing up, like if I didn't do the right things, I was gonna have to live the life I live. I was gonna have to go out there and get a shitty job and work as many hours as I can. Most likely get 2. I was instilled that in a young age. But like I went to a job the other day. I'm talking with the boss. I know how to talk to people definitely in interviews and stuff like that. I know what they want. I know what they want to hear. It's really easy for me to get a job as long as I get the interview. It's an easy thing. But we were just talking, yapping, talking shit. Really weren't really talking about the job, talking about old jobs, stuff like that. He worked at a lot of the same jobs I've worked at since I was, since the beginning of time. He was sitting there telling me that, like, well, I hire people left and right. But I had a guy come to me the other day and say, well, I can't work more than 25 hours. If I said that like out loud to where somebody could hear it and relay that to my dad. Even me at 30 years old and my dad at 50 years old, he would come here and beat my ass. He really would. Like, he would literally, like, my dad has been a working man his whole life. I grew up poor, I have no ill will towards anything that ever happened in my life with that situation. And I'm not scared of most shit. I haven't been homeless. But 20, you can't work no more than 25 hours? My dad would literally kick my ass. And my dad, it's just because of the way you grow up. Your dad's the scariest dude in your life. He's probably the only thing that scares me other than having a dream about all my exes in a dream together. And I had that dream. I had to wake up quick, smoke a bunch of cigarettes. I just think that's scary. If it was just the first two out of the three, that would have been probably just, that last one wasn't that bad. Shit happens. But it's just like a whole new world out here. It's like a whole thing of people just think they can live because they see everybody else do it. And like when I grew up, the first thing I wanted to do was get out of my parents' house. The first thing I did when I was 16 is I went and got a job to pay for a car. Because I didn't want to be in my parents' house. I wanted to be in my parents' house the least amount possible. And believe me, when I moved out, they were on it. Like, it didn't matter if they were made sure that I wasn't coming back. Now in the last couple of years I've been back. Been back and forth 3 or 4 times. For a couple weeks here, then for a year. Probably a year and a half the last time. But when I was gone, they made sure I was gone. Like if there was something that came up, they paid for it. But they're not gonna go out and buy me a car. They're not gonna tell me, hey, I only worked this much at a job. Which actually, when I came back from my vacation, they kind of were on that. And I did BS around. I did a lot of podcasts before I got caught on a Bob Evans. I mean, it's not like that I was begging to look for a job. Because I kind of had it made, They were trying to keep me in sane quarters, which I'm a crazy motherfucker. That just wasn't going to happen. I need stuff to survive. I need a job to survive. I really need 2 jobs to survive. It's a whole new generation. And I'm on the border of being a millennial. I'm right there, 1990s is mostly what they say. I'm right there at 30 years old. So believe me, I fall into the cracks on some of this stuff. I fall into the millennial stuff here and there. I just don't understand the not working thing. I just don't get it. It's hilarious to me, really. And it's because a lot, when you grow up poor and stuff, and a lot of people I know, you're going to want to give out as much as you can if you got it. It's just sometimes you got to let these motherfuckers grow up a little bit. And believe me, I'm not the biggest grown up in the world, but it's a different time, I guess. And we are going to talk sports today. Don't worry. We're not just going to sit here and we're not going to talk about people. I could sit here and I could have this rant. You see me get on rants on this show where I can have an hour-long rant. Like I always say, my favorite podcasts aren't the sports ones. It's the ones where I just yapping. It's the ones that you can go listen to and weird news ain't on and stuff like that. That's my favorite kind of thing to do, is just to sit here and yap, not have a bunch of notes. Not have talking points. Now, I write stuff down because I'm a very forgetful person. I will easily forget some of the things I want to talk about. If I come up with a good something for this show, something to talk about for this show, I write down talking points. I don't write down like word for word what I was saying. Me and my brother have some of the most random conversations, even about about anything, but about sports, and I write some of this stuff down. But we have the conversations like crop dusting somebody at the front door of a gas station. So, but I like switching it up. I like doing the sports. I like having something else to talk about. And it's really hard, for real, because this is mostly a St. Louis sports podcast. And there's just not much going on in St. Louis sports. Like in my notes, I wrote down on the second page of my notes, and really the first page ain't full. It's about half full, but I remember like doing the old school hometown rundown and it being a full page, so I was trying to, to give myself room, and I went and looked it up, and we lost a lot of our independent teams. We lost the River City Raiders, the St. Louis River Sharks, but I don't know if I talked about the River Sharks or the Gateway Stream much on this show. Both basketball teams that played at Harris Stowe. I mean, just over the years, we've lost a lot of independent teams. We're down to 2 soccer teams. And you also got River City Rascals, but the River City Rascals are locked out of, I don't remember what the ballpark is anymore. I think Cars Shield Field is what it's called now. But they're locked out of there because they're not paying their rent. Now, I don't know why they're not paying their rent. I've read stories here and there on the owner and heard he's not the greatest owner in the world. We had the same problem here kind of with the St. Louis attack and the ambush before he left. And it's not the same guy that owns the Rascals. But he also owns another team in that league too. So it's kind of confusing on how stuff like that happens. But if we lose another entity in St. Louis, I mean, it's kind of effed up. And I know people are scared to cross that bridge. Like when I moved to St. Charles, I used to think everything, like if I had to cross that bridge, I was going too far. Like to me, like it's just like people don't like crossing that bridge. St. Louis people don't like crossing that bridge into St. Charles. It's just not a thing. It's why teams don't survive out here. But it seemed like the River City Rascals were surviving. And there's enough people in the St. Charles County area for teams to survive. It's just if you're going to spend the money on that, because I went to an ambush game, probably a couple years ago with my daughter. You're easily going to walk into a place like that and spend $40-$50. I had $40 in my pocket, and I was struggling, to try to make sure I just had a little money in my pocket before I got paid. I think it was 2 or 3 days later. And people aren't going to want to spend their last dollar on the ambush or the Rascals. They're going to want to see the big teams. They're going to want to see the players that major leagues. They're going to want to see that kind of stuff, which is understandable. You want to see the best of the best. And yet sometimes watching them games, it's just you're kind of like, you look up at the score and it's 8-7 and each team's got 4 or 5. I mean, that's not always fun watching sports. Definitely if you're kind of like a technical guy, which you kind of like seeing the game played, I guess you could call it right, but seeing it played in a professional way. And, all these teams that are around here are semi-pro teams. I mean, there hasn't been much in St. Louis and teams like that in a while. I mean, you used to have the roller hockey, you used to have the basketball teams all downtown, and now, everything's been moved to that family arena in St. Charles. I mean, since I can remember the St. Louis Storm and River Otters, I don't know who was there before that. I don't think there was much there at the family arena before that. I mean, they obviously draw wrestling shows very well because the WWE keeps coming back. When you could go throw a live show probably down at the Savvis or anywhere, Peabody, the America Center, anywhere, and they seem to like staying in St. Charles. And I really liked following these teams. I liked when I had a lot of, and even when I wasn't doing a show, I was still watching this stuff. And there are notes and notes and notes, which will probably never be seen again. When on days I planned on doing the podcast and I didn't do it for weeks at a time or, years at a time, I was still doing the podcast just without recording it. You know what I'm saying? I still had all the stats written down. Like for the hometown rundown, I did a lot of stat work. because that's the only way I wasn't sitting there watching every game. So, the games I watched, I talked about, and then the games I didn't watch, I didn't talk about. Or I did talk about, but I just used stats. And, I couldn't imagine growing up in the days when we had NBA with the Hawks, or even with ABA later with the Spirits, having the Cardinals football and baseball, and also having the Blues. Now you're down to nothing. It was a year-round thing to celebrate sports. Because on the days you didn't have the Blues on the days you didn't have the Cardinals on, you had something else to watch. Now, it kind of sucks that the three, hockey, basketball, and football, kind of all run together. You get the end of baseball and stuff like that, but just think of having that towards the end of baseball, where your team's pushing for a playoff chase, or even your team's out of the playoff chase. You have something to turn the TV to, you know what I'm saying? Like when the Cardinals aren't playing on them days they're in the playoffs, you could have turned it to something different. It's hard to do that now. Definitely with the way the Blues are playing. And you're literally running out of things. I don't think the ambush starts till February. FC's done with their season. It's a difficult thing for St. Louis sports right now. Because one of my favorite things to do was that hometown run. I liked watching, and it's kind of cool to see the players and learn it. It's kind of cool to see them players that you watch and that you wrote about and all this and that make it, even if it was the ambush to St. Louis FC or it was the River City Rascals to the Single A Cardinals. I was like, oh damn, I watched that player and I wrote about him before. I knew a little bit about that player before. That they're talking about, and the favorite thing to say on sports is well, we don't know much about this guy. I used to be able to say Austin Warner was one of them guys who's in the Cardinal system and has a good chance of making the MLB team this year. I mean, and I'm a big sports guy. I can sit there and I can watch some TV. As of right now, they're right next to each other. So the two channels I'm watching is True TV and Comedy Central, mostly for Impractical Jokers and South Park. Them are shows that are a little easy to watch, but I mean, a lot of the times when I'm sitting around, I got my headphones in and I'm listening to podcasts or little music here and there, mostly podcasts. And it's part to better my craft, and it's part because that's what I like. I like listening to that kind of stuff. I'm not the biggest music fan. And it's funny, even in the music that I am a fan of, I hardly know the names of half the shit. Me and my brother were looking for a song for hours the other night because he's got he records, he writes songs and does all that shit. And he had a little beat on his thing, and I know the song by heart, but I couldn't think of the name. And I had to look it up, the lyrics, and the name of the song was the first thing they say in the song. But on the beat, it didn't say the words. But, you could sit there and sing it and think about it. And, I passed the song 3 or 4 times. I'm like, that ain't it. Why would he, And then we ended up finding it. As soon as he, started singing it, his way. Because, when you're in your own head, you're in your own head. My mouth moves a lot faster than my brain. So I could say what I'm thinking, but I'm already 10 words ahead of it. And it happens a lot on this show. I go from one subject to another, no problem. I do it in real life too. One thing I could be talking about Pornhub, the next thing I could be talking about the Cardinals. It's not a hard thing for me. And the real shitty thing is it's gotten worse. Because I'm a way bigger college basketball fan than I've been NBA. I've said that on the show since the beginning, since 2015. That I'm a bigger fan of college basketball. And I'm going to be a bigger fan of college basketball, mostly because it's more of a team game. Now that they have that G League thing going, where players can go there and not go to college and get paid for it. Now you're going to have to see teams go out here and actually recruit team players. And you're going to get this, and the second tier guys that don't get as much are going to get to showcase themselves off. And I hope that it turns into basically a team game. I like that kind of basketball. Because you could still have a team game and it still be fast-paced. I just don't like running up and shooting every time. Like I was watching I think it's called The Basketball Story. I love The Basketball Story, or it's whatever it is. It's on ESPN at nights. And I've been watching a lot of it. It's pretty cool stuff to learn about this stuff. It's pretty cool stuff to learn about the inner workings of some of the stuff. It's pretty cool to learn about the lives of some of these people and what they had to go through and stuff like that. And they had one on last night about guys like Oscar Robertson and Steve Nash. And Steve Nash, I remember the Phoenix days, the Sean Marion, Amari Stoudemire, Jared Dudley, Steve Nash days of the Suns. One of my favorite teams. Because it was more of a team basketball thing. And Steve Nash, they were showing Steve Nash, how he'd run the pick and rolls and how he had the nice little thing where he ran to the basket like he's going to do a layup and everybody collapses and he just passes it out. And it was cool that they were showing all the old Sun stuff. Because I watched a lot of that stuff. I remember the year that Amari beat the Spurs in that first game of the series. Everybody thought they were going to get swept out of the building. I remember it being one of the coolest things that I've seen in a long time. And that's when I was real big into sports. And it was probably 10 years ago, so I was 20 years old. So I was really starting to understand sports and the way things work and a lot more than that. So, I think the G League is going to help not only push college basketball to a different level, but also them players that are going to come there to go to the Dukes and Kentucky are just going to go to the G League, and you're going to have, I don't know I forgot what it's called. But it's going to be some more parity in college basketball. You're not going to have every year the best players, they're going to win. You're not going to have the Duke have 3 of the 5 best players. You're not going to have the Kentuckys doing the same thing. It's going to be more of a parallel. And that was what's always good about college basketball. Definitely with the tournament of 64, you never know who's going to win. And now it's going to be more or less, unless these college teams start playing, it's going to be more of a less of it's going to be, instead of having the best players, it's going to be who's the best recruiter and who can put the best team together. Now, Travis Ford, when his team's picked first in the A10, to finish first in the A10, and they beat up on Quincy the other night. At SLU, that's what you have to do. The top player they've gotten in a long time was Larry Hughes 20-odd years ago, or whatever it is. It just doesn't happen like that at SLU. And it's nice to see that they're starting to build a program up. And the only bad thing for SLU is Missouri is just the known commodity. And it's mostly because they have the 2 biggest sports. SLU doesn't have that. Now, they have some of the best baseball teams in college. They have some of the best soccer teams in college. But missing that football kind of hurts SLU a little bit. Because you see Mizzou just more and more. And being from the SEC, you see Mizzou on ESPN and CBS. You don't find a whole lot of A10 games with SLU on them on the television. And I think that's why it's hard to separate yourself from being a Missouri fan and being strictly a SLU fan. Now, it's going to probably be easier this year with the injury to Jontay Porter. And that's a big loss for Mizzou. You lose your top player, who was really your top player last year. People can say it's Jordan Barnett or... But no, it was Jontay Porter saved Missouri last year. And Missouri, it seems like it happens in Missouri every year. It's been a long time. It happened to SLU last year with the Title IX investigation. Some of the weirdest stuff came out of that for nothing to happen. It's partly because the world's changed with the Me Too movements and all that. So now instead of investigating and stuff like that, you basically have to agree with it. But it seems like it's been happening in Mizzou for 20 years. I mean, going back to Ricky Clemens. I mean, and not just stuff like the Ricky Clemens stuff, which is a lot more scarier and crazy than what's happening now, but it just seems like it's every year, whether it's players not eligible or injuries. Michael Porter last year, now it's the next year with Jonte. Because he was going to be the star. He didn't have Michael Porter. He didn't have Jordan Burnett. He was going to be your top player. Now, they can play and say it's somebody else is and blah, blah. You're going to hype up your seniors. You're going to hype up the older guys. I mean, if you see what this kid did as a freshman last year, on a year he really should have been in high school, he was going to be your top player. And now, luckily, you got Drew Smith, can't play. You got Mark Smith, which is going to help with the guard position. So you've lost something, but you added something. But it's still a big loss. And with the way Missouri football is struggling right now, on a team that we thought was going to be halfway decent, with one of the top quarterbacks in the league, who all of a sudden isn't the top quarterback in college football anymore. I mean, you had a chance to beat the number 12 team in the nation, and you were picked by 7 points to beat that 12th ranked team in the nation, and you just couldn't squeeze it out. I mean, they were one of the most potent offenses last year. They just can't do it. And the injuries help that. It's understandable. But it just seems like something's always happening in Mizzou, whether it's football or basketball. And now, in the next few years, you're going to really see how these coaches recruit. And I think with this G League team, you're going to see a lot of these coaches from Mizzou, from Travis Ford, from SLU, who could got better jobs than with the jobs they have now. They're going to go for the bigger jobs because name recognition is everything. Unless you're going to be a good recruiter. Like, I think Travis Ford, most likely, if the SLU has a really good year, that he could have another job. Cuonzo Martin could have got a better job, and he chose Missouri. And great for us that we got the Porters. And great for us, we're starting to get better recruits and let people are coming here, the Jeremiah Tillmans and all that. So you still have depth on this roster. But you just lost that main piece. And so I'm kind of hoping that since you lost that you're going to see more of a, I guess you would call it a merry-go-round of players. That you're going to see how good of a recruit the Cuonzo Martin is. Same for Travis Ford. Like, where you're picked in the A-10 as the number one team, you're gonna see really has he done that well in recruiting to be one of the top teams in the conference. And the A-10's not really like a Power 5 conference, so it's a little different because you don't have the best players. But, I mean, there's some good teams in the Atlantic 10. I mean, a bit of being SLU and being all that, I really wish they would just go to the Missouri Valley. You would dominate the league every year. Missouri Valley's on TV. Seems like a lot more than A-10. I mean, you could really do something different if you were in a different place. I don't know how the contracts work. I don't know if SLU has that type of money to be that they want to spend on moving conferences. I don't think it would be a big deal because you're moving from the A-10 to the Missouri Valley. I mean, I know being in a conference with a little bit of name to it and teams that people have heard of before could help with recruiting. But I think if kids know they're going to be on TV and you know that they're going to make the tournament no matter what, I think that's an easy way for them to want to come there to SLU and showcase what they got. Definitely, if you know that team's going to make it to the tournament, no problem. I mean, it's just another hurt for Missouri sports. It's nice to watch Kansas City do their thing. It's just it's a really hurt thing. Definitely with the Cardinals not making the playoffs. No football. The Blues not playing like you expected them to play. There's a lot of things going on. So you kind of hope that the coaches that you think you got when Cuonzo Martin and Mizzou, you hope that he is that guy. And you hope that Travis Ford, because he hasn't really had like the greatest, he doesn't have the greatest like leverage in the world because he's the coach of SLU, but that he's the recruiter that we need him to be one of the top teams in the A10. This team's not going to be, because they're a smaller college and they don't have the football, this team's not going to be one of the top teams in the NCAA. It's just not going to happen. Unless you see this G League thing really work out and teams have to recruit based off building a team and not building a team around one player. And I really hope that SLU's done that. And I really hope that Mizzou has done that too. And you went out and they get transfers and stuff like that. You see, and SLU does it too. SLU has been getting transfers and stuff too. So it's really, it's just too early to make an assumption right now. Like SLU's played Quincy. I haven't even seen who Mizzou's played because there's been so much talk about Jonte Porter. That's all you see. You just gotta hope that they really stepped their game up. And I hope for SLU that they really did. Like Missouri, they're gonna come back. They're gonna get players. And it's mostly because that they have the big national notoriety of being in the SEC and having football, and SLU just doesn't have that. Speaking of St. Louis, Ben Askren, guy from big wrestler, national champion at Mizzou, undefeated in his MMA career in the Bellator and won championship, retired as the champion at one. Well, the first ever MMA trade happened where Demetrius Johnson and Ben Askren were released out of their contracts. Demetrius Johnson, the UFC, and Demetrius Johnson went to the UFC or went to one championship, and Ben Askren is supposedly in the UFC, even though UFC really hasn't said too much. It's Demetrius Johnson ain't shut up, and neither is Ben Askren. Ben Askren is the greatest. I used to say it was Trump. I think I've said it was Tom Arnold before. I've said a lot. Ben Askren is the greatest thing that ever happened to Twitter because he doesn't shut up. And if he, it's like this. Hey, prove it. He's telling people to prove it because he's going to go out there and he's going to make sure you prove it. And it's funny because it's not a big thing. I don't think Dana really wanted it. You have a lot of people. What did Derek Lewis said today? That he eats his wife's ass before every MMA fight. You're starting to have some characters in the UFC. I don't think that like TRT is great. TRT just and Chuck Liddell and all that. They just weren't the characters that these guys are now. The Chael Sonens, Derek Lewis, Ben Askren. And there's more. Conor McGregor. There's a lot of guys out there. The Diaz's. It's nice to see a little bit of personality, and you don't get. And it's like in St. Louis sports, you don't get that much. It's nice to see like two guys from St. Louis and Tyron Woodley, and Ben Askren like have them personalities. You get to even though it's not. They're not based in St. Louis. UFC doesn't come to St. Louis too often. It's still fun to see. It's fun to watch. I vote for the hometown people. Most of the sports people I follow on Twitter are hometown people. I follow Matt Seidel and Randy Orton just because they're from St. Louis. I think Brooke Adams is another girl I follow. Is another wrestler, and she's a girl, of course, that I follow just because she's from St. Louis. It's nice to see, though. But Ben's calling out everybody. He ain't even caring. And Dana hasn't said much. I don't know. I guess Dana's just like, hey, let's talk Khabib and McGregor. Which, he's going to hype that up no matter what. He's just the hype. He's the hype man now. He's not really like the biggest guy in UFC because they got sold. Now he's your face, so he's got to hype up. He's got to hype up McGregor and Khabib in an MMA ring. He said it's not going to happen in boxing. And you got to understand. I said Dana's got to promote a sport. And, I don't know, you don't see Dana talk too much about Tyron Woodley. He has said nothing about Ben Askren. He said a little things when Ben Askren running his mouth before but now, Ben Askren, hey, when are you going to announce it? Said it on Twitter. And he's going at McGregor's fighters. He's going at Khabib's trainers. He's going at every fighter possible. It's a nice thing to see. And it's kind of funny. I mean, it's hilarious. And it's a sport that has starting to, like, grow itself based on personalities. I mean, you see Tyron Woodley getting on there going after Joe Rogan for talking bad about CM Punk. Because Joe Rogan said if Dana let CM Punk fight, why couldn't he let Logan Paul fight? Because Logan Paul, who won a boxing match against who fucking knows, some other fucking YouTuber. But, I mean, I kind of see where Joe Rogan's coming from. Just you're going to just want to make the money. And, Tyron Woodley told him to, be quiet about it, unless you got something to say to me. Because they're friends, I guess, and training partners and blah, blah, whatever. I mean, it's nice to see personality. It's nice. It's fun to see these people call each other out on Twitter or wherever in the sport. A guy I forgot about, Daniel Cormier, another guy that's out there. And he's such a voice out there in UFC that Fox has wanted to make him one of the voices when they bring wrestling to Fox. So, it's crazy that this sport that you thought was already grown, as big as it can grow, having the fights with McGregor and Mayweather, having this fight with McGregor and Khabib, like a lot of big fights that is just growing seemingly every day. And now it's based off the personalities in the sport other than just strictly their win-loss record. Now, a guy that goes out there and it's 18-11 or whatever, you're not going to, that's not the guy you want out there in your voice, but the undefeated champion in Tyron Woodley, another undefeated guy in his MMA career, and Ben Askren, another guy like Conor McGregor, who's, even though he's lost some of these big fights, he's been in a lot of big fights that people didn't expect to be big fights, like Nate Diaz. They turned that into a big fight. Khabib ain't like one of these guys that goes out there and is talking a bunch and stuff like that. And, but he's a personality, and they turned that into a big fight. I mean, it's something that other sports look into. Like, they should, a personality in a sport shouldn't just be the guy that's quiet. It shouldn't be a guy that's not going to go out there. You can't ruin a sport with personalities, because everybody, you can go out there and you see it in the media. People say, hey, this person has a shitty personality. So it's understandable to try to save your sport without putting these personalities out there. But I also think it's a dumb way to not grow your sport to have a different personality. Now, it seems like these baseball players are just racist as hell. So maybe you don't want that. Like, so people can pull up the Twitters of everybody and see, hey, this guy said this, Josh Hader. And then I think it was the guy Trey Turner for Washington. So, I understand why MLB wants to keep it to the people that they want to keep it to, like the Bryce Harpers, the Mike Trouts, the more known guys. And, like, everything is going so independent today that you're starting to learn some of these people's names that don't or haven't fought in the UFC. Like a Ben Askren. Wrestling's the same way. I mean, look at the New Japan. Look at the littler ones in Ring of Honor. Impact still gets viewers. 200 people to watch your show. It can't be production costs and stuff like that. You're going to get ratings. If you get them kind of ratings, that's 200,000 people every week that are going to see your commercial. They're going to sell. So, even with, and it goes farther than that. Ring of Honor, Impact, and you're starting to learn, WWE starting to work with places like Evolve. And, you're starting to learn all these companies that you never heard of before. Mostly because Vince buys them all out. But UFC is the same way. Nobody's heard of one championship. Now people are getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning to watch fights on Twitter. It's crazy how you can grow a sport so much from one certain level, and just with a couple, 3 or 4 personalities, you can have these independent team things work. And it works in wrestling more because they all work together. They're Ring of Honor, New Japan, Impact, all of them work together. And WWE is starting to learn that they're going to have to, to get these guys to want to wrestle. You need to showcase other talent to see what people want. You can't just bring people in just because. And they brought so many people in of recent that don't have it or don't. It's hard to create storylines because they're still going off their own people. It really seems like the WWE really tries to bury all the wrestlers from New Japan or Impact. I mean, there's a couple here and there that get the step up if they don't get the step up that they get from that the next people get. And it's kind of the same way with UFC too. Because they try to bury the other company, we're top dog and blah blah. But you see sometimes when you see his first fight in the UFC, you could tell some of these fighters beat people that have been in the UFC for a long time. And like I said with the person, I don't know how that. It's different for baseball. With the independent leagues, you don't hear much about that, but you see it's going to start. I think it's going to start doing it in the NFL. I really see in the long run of the NFL with this AFF, the Legions of American Football, and the XFL, they're going to be. They're not going to run two football teams. Definitely with a guy that are friends like the Ingersolls and McMahons. I really think in the long run they're going to combine, and they're really going to see which one grows faster. Now, you're going to see the AAFF this year and the XFL next year. You got to think the NFL just off name basis and basically with the money that they can launder, and they probably don't want to hear that from through the WWE. That probably is going to be the league in the long run. Now all this crap with Vince McMahon says, "Oh, you can't have this on your," that will all change. He's trying to be this guy that's anti-NFL and any controversy the NFL has over the last few years or anything like that. He's just trying to be the opposite, just to get people talking about it. But it's something to talk about, and it brings football into another area, just like with Ben Askren with one and then wrestling, New Japan and all that. Strikeforce is still up there. And stuff like that. But they it's a different way to grow your sport, you know what I'm saying? Is to have these little leagues, even if you're funding them. If you remember, you read a story, Vince McMahon was funding an ECW for a long time. He's probably funding Evolve. And believe me, that's what I'm saying about all the other independent ones. They're all three funding each other. The New Japan and all them. So I think if you need the way to grow your sport, and definitely with the NFL. NFL Europe was pretty big there for a while, and there was a lot of players that played there. Kurt Warner. There's a lot of players that played there to make it to them. They could have something like this. They really could. And then now the struggle is, unlike the G League, where these people are going to have to play their 10 games during the spring and summer months, and then you really want somebody playing 26 football games a year. And if they make it to the Super Bowl, that's 30 games of football. That's double what you plan on doing. So it's definitely different with the contact sport. But the MLB, even with the major leagues, they could make their major leagues better if they kind of branched away from it. I think the same thing with the NBA. If they branched away from saying that's their minor leagues. Now, Next has worked. For wrestling, but wrestling's a scripted show, a whole different thing. And there's been other MMA companies that worked for a long time. WEC was on TV forever. And I said Strikeforce earlier, I meant Bellator, but Bellator's still running around, and they still get big fighters and stuff like that. But they're separated from UFC, and that's kind of like the UFC's minor leagues. And I think that the UFC should fund them. I think a way to grow your sport is not to put something out there that has your name on it. The way to grow your sport is to have competitors. And nobody has to know that you're funding your competitor. Not many people knew that, that wrestling funded all these other wrestling companies back in the day. I mean, MLB's funneling money through the minor leagues. But it's the MLB. I think if you broke off, you could have something different. And I think that like baseball could be a winter thing. I think winter baseball could work. I really think that this Arizona Fall League, if you put it on TV and you put it, and it has to be, it can't be a regional thing. It can't be the Arizona Fall League. It has to be something else. You know what I'm saying? It has to be during a time when baseball's not on, and they bring it to other cities. A lot of these cities have domes they can play in, and you have to, I know it's like Jamestown has baseball, and I know Jamestown. I hit a home run right there. Now it wasn't called a home run. I hit a home run at Jamestown one time, so I know it's not that far. But something like that, the Dome, I think a perfect place. And I think that there's other cities that have arenas like that. I don't know how big the family arena would be with that, but they ran football through there. I don't think you could do it there. But a place like the Dome, like you could find these places. And, with all the players that go down there from the MLB's funneling it, but it could be something different for somebody that doesn't have the TV, because it's worked just about everywhere else for certain amounts of time. The USFL before Donald Trump got it. The ABA before the NBA got it. I mean, there's just a lot of things that I think could work. And NFL, even if it is arena league football, it's still something that I think could work if you did it the right way. And now these places don't have that kind of money, but the NFL and MLB. I think there's a way that they, instead of trying to change your game to broaden your brand, I think there's ways to take from your brand and put it somewhere else, and it would become more of a benefit to you. Because then you hit personalities that weren't known, but now are known, that are going to the NFL or MLB or NBA or NHL. And people know them, and it's going to make more. And like, man, I watched that guy when he played in the AAFF. Now he's on the Patriots, or he's on the Rams, or anything like that. And it's cool to see that kind of stuff. For a lot of people, a lot of people like seeing it. A lot of people like seeing the independent people make it. And I like seeing it too. I'm like, like it's funny when I can sit here and I can name stuff to my brother who's a bigger wrestling fan, or used to be a bigger wrestling fan to me, or a UFC guy. And I'm like, he's better on the fighters and I'm better on the wrestlers. Like and I'm like, I've never heard of that UFC fighter, or he's like, I never heard of that wrestler. It's kind of cool to see that kind of stuff. Like, it's cool to see an Austin Warner coming from the Rascals and having a chance probably to make the NBA or MLB Cardinals this year. It's cool. And you can look, and for some of these players, and I remember some of them, and like, there's a guy on the Marlins that used to play for the Rascals. So I think there's ways to broaden your brand without knowing it's your brand. Because in the long run, I really think that the XFL and AFL are combined. It'd probably not be the XFL. It'd probably be American Football Alliance, and the NFL is going to fund that. Because it's not really competition, but it is. It broadens your sport out there. More people are not going to watch spring football over the NFL because it's two different seasons, MLB. But you have that chance because that's all it is. And that's what I'm saying about the MLB, with you got them other three sports, but some people are just baseball fans. Definitely here in St. Louis. And I mean, it's a great sports town, blah, blah. You could say all that, but the Blues don't get the crowds. I mean, it's not the biggest, but the Blues don't get the crowds that the St. Louis Cardinals got or have gotten over these past few years. So I think it's nice just to change it up a little bit. To try to have competition, but have an extra medium to put your sport out there, to have something else. And this was, honestly, I started this as an MA conversation, and I kind of branched out to all sports. So I'll go back to it, of course. Like I said, it's the way my brain works. My brain and my body kind of work the same way. They know, like when I do something fucked up or something's fucked up in my body, and it kind of just fix this. Like my body knows, like, hey, you're sick. Hey, you can't be sick. You have shit to do. My brain, hey, you probably should, stay on topic. But hey, fuck it, But like in my head, I know how the conversation started, but anyway. I mean, it's gonna be cool. I think it's gonna be cool to get Big Askren a chance. It'd be cool to, form like a tag team with Woodley and Ben Askren to go out there and just tear up the division. Maybe Woodley moves up and gives Ben Askren a chance in his way, or maybe it's the other way around. You never know. That's what's kind of cool about seeing like a growing sport. And I really do think that you're going to see this sooner than later, that with these leagues do this. Now, I don't think it's going to be totally this year or next year, and I think it's going to be 2020 after the XFL gets through their first season. Probably 2021, 2022 when they get through, each league gets through a few seasons, and then they branch out. They get together, and the NFL funds it. I mean, I guess it could be like a training camp or a preseason for them kind of players. It's a hard thing to figure out, definitely with the NFL, because of all the safety stuff. I think that other sports could do it. I think the NBA could do it. They already run a summer league. They might as well put the effort to do it. And really, they do. NBA doesn't have to do it as much, but they're not making the money off the NCAA. It's something that they could make money off of. I think they could do it. And they're going to try to do it with the G League, but then you have to branch out where you show the G League. You can't just show the shit on NBA TV. You have to show the shit on ESPN, and not much basketball is on the regular networks no more. But you have to, like, that AFL is going to be on CBS, whether it's CBS Sports. It's going to still be shown a little bit. That's the smartest thing to do. Even if it's not every game, every week, you're going to see it on CBS here. You're going to see it on CBS Sports if you got that. There's going to be a lot of ways to see it, and I think that the other leagues need to look into that and how that kind of stuff works. Now, staying on the Halloween topic that we started off the show with, and I ran it for who knows how long, about sports. Now, you've seen that the Megyn Kelly thing where she said, well, what's wrong with blackface as long as you're dressing up like somebody that you like. Like, I think she used Diana Ross or Risa. I don't know what she used. She used some singer. Now, you could say that and think that totally. You don't say that and think that when you got a higher rated show on not MSNBC or CNBC or NBC Sports or anything like that. She said this on the Today Show, on her hour of the Today Show. Now, you and your friends could talk about it and be like, I don't see the hate in it. I don't see nothing wrong with it. I like what NBC did. I'm not like a guy that's going to go out here and say this and that, badmouth people for saying what they think. It's not. It's just a certain stuff you can't say. I don't say everything I think on this show. I have my opinions about certain things. I might, like somebody at work the other day, I said something stupid about women. I don't even remember what I said. Just playing around, Because someone told me to get a girlfriend. I said, blah, blah, blah. They said, oh, you must be a Trump supporter. And I just started giggling, I thought that shit was funny. No, I'm not the biggest Trump supporter, but I'm more of a Trump supporter than I am a Hillary supporter. And actually, in the last couple of elections, I've been a little bit I was actually a bigger McCain supporter than I was an Obama supporter. Now, I think 4 years later, after the whole Sarah Palin and shit like that thing, I was a big Obama supporter of the rest of the Republicans. So, I mean, I switch it up. But to go on that and do that on national TV, when you could just have a simple conversation about Halloween, it's just dumb. And you say she probably could have got away with it on MSNBC because it's a political thing and it's a topic. And I understand wanting to come up with topics on a show. I fully understand wanting to come up with topics on a show to the fullest extent. But it's not, I mean, it's not just, it wasn't just, this stuff comes out all the time. Like, I don't understand, like, Elizabeth Warren, going out there and get this DNA test, saying she's an Indian. I don't understand. People can look up, people can study heritages and stuff, no problem. But you're 164th Indian and you just say, hey, I studied it. I've looked on my history. There were some people that were Indian, had of Indian descent in my history. Don't go out here and say, because you know about the Native American struggle because you're 164. Come on. I mean, I just don't understand the identity. I don't need to go out here and identify that I'm white. Or that I have Indian blood. Because supposedly everybody in my family tells me all the time, you have this blood and you have this blood. I don't need to go out. I don't care. And it seems like it's happening over the years. It really seems like it happened since Obama, because he's from Hawaii or Afghanistan, whatever the fuck they want to say he's from. He won the goddamn election. He's your president. Get over it. Same thing with Trump. Get over it, people. Like, and then this migrant caravan that's running through Mexico. Oh, there's got to be some Afghans in there, and they're coming to destroy the world. Not every Afghanistan sucks. I don't have big problems with 7-Eleven. I don't have big problems with half the McDonald's in the St. Louis area. Guess who they were run by? I don't have a problem with the Afghan store down the street. I don't have a problem with any of the stores. I don't identify the Afghan store as the Afghan store. Now, am I going to go in there and get food? No, because I'm American and I like certain things that come in shop and say, like, I don't know a thing. There's a Mexican store, and I like Mexican food. I don't walk in the Mexican store. Spanish, or whatever you want to call it. I don't have to identify myself to make myself look better. Me saying that I'm white does not make me look better. Me saying that I'm 1/900th Indian, so I know this and I know that about Indians. No. People don't understand. When you don't grow up like that, it's not a thing. You want to go be a real fucking Indian? Go down there on the reservations in Arizona and live. And I'm going to tell you to live for 2 days. I'm not going to say go out there for a month and live. Go out there for 2 days and I bet you're running back to being white real fucking quick. I can guarantee it. I was out there. I seen the shit. I seen the dirt houses. I seen how the schools are run. I seen it. My aunt was a teacher, so I seen everything on the reservation. She was a teacher on the reservation. Now, she didn't live on the reservation, but she was a teacher on it. So I see what the struggle is. I see what the struggle is sometimes about some of these races because they, you have to defend yourself at some point. But I don't need to say I know this and that because of this. That's just dumb. That makes no sense to me. I'm not going to run around and saying, oh, I know about the Pilgrims because I'm a white man. Blah, blah, blah. We took over the Indians because we're strong. Shut the fuck up. It's just, and it's creating talking points, and I understand it. I understand if you think, but it doesn't make you better. It doesn't make you a better person because you're 164th Indian, so you might know a little bit. It doesn't make you smarter to go out here and say, well, I don't dislike blackface as long as you like the people. That's the dumbest fucking thing I ever heard. Like one Halloween, I bought an Obama mask and was running around. If you remember a show from Daniel Tosh where he was saying Obama, and he dressed up like Obama and stuff like that. Many people didn't like that, but I think Key and Peele was back in the background, so they didn't have a problem with it, and they're black. But I was just running around saying Obama with the Obama mask on. It wasn't because he was black. If I had a Trump one now, I'd run around and fuck around in that and say fuck her in the pussy or whatever the fuck he said. It's okay to touch her pussy or, whatever. That's the funniest shit he said. I thought the Obama thing from Daniel Tosh was funny. I think Trump saying grab her by the pussy is funny. Not be funny to me. Some of the greatest shows on TV, when they make fun of race, religion, all that, I think is funny. And it's not just Dave Chappelle, one of the greatest shows of all time, Key and Peele, which was a second coming of Dave Chappelle show. Pretty fucking funny. I just don't understand. I just don't remember people doing this before. I really don't remember politics being all about identifying yourself and making yourself look better because of this, that, or the other. It's highly a thing that makes zero sense to me. And it's just not that, but it's like these bombing people. This guy had anti-Hillary stuff and pro-Trump stuff on his van. Well, if you read the dude's Twitter account, he went at Trump a few times. He called him a globalist and all this. I mean, it's not, and everything gets blamed on Trump, and the synagogue getting shoot up, blamed on Trump. As I was talking at the beginning of the show, people are just fucked up. They're acting on their thoughts. I don't have these kind of thoughts, though. But they're acting like, you do have fucked up, like, do I just want to go out here and rob a bank and just live luxurious? Yes, I do. I'm not going to. Do I want to go out here and just do whatever the fuck I want and get away with it with no consequences? Yes, the fuck I do. But it's not because I like Trump and think that Trump's going to do it. And it's not because I'm white and think I have white privilege. It's because I want to fucking do it. Because I'm poor. And then, the dude just can't get an effing break in Trump. He talks about the World Series and people go after him about that. Rich Hill, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Why even ask Rich Hill, did you feel like you should be taking another game? What's he going to say? Definitely with the political state where if Obama would have said that, I almost guarantee Rich Hill would have said he can have his story. And no, he goes out there and he just badmouths Trump. And I'm not going to guarantee that that's what would have happened with Obama. I'm just saying, it just seems like all of a sudden in the last few years, it seems like we have to identify ourselves in this and that. And it's like making people go nuts. People are killing each other over politics. You're losing friends over politics. Politics that don't even matter. And that same conversation that me and that girl had when she said I'm a Trump supporter, she says I don't vote because our votes don't matter. I am totally 100% in agreement with everything she says. And many people that don't have to know politics know enough. The Electoral College, she knew what she was talking about a little bit with that. It's not like she knew everything, but she knew enough. And my voice is getting a little whiny here, but it just doesn't make any sense. It highly doesn't make quite the sense to me that you think it would. And in conversations and stuff where sports used to be just sports, now we're getting political in sports. And I just can't see it. And then when you have to go out there and identify yourself as this, that, or the other, that just doesn't make any sense to me. I'm not going to go out. I identify myself as a human being. That's what I am. You know what I identify everybody else as? A human being. And that's all I see in people. Color's not a thing to me. And I just don't get it. And I try to stay away from this political stuff on the show. But it's hard to do when now it's not just like I just don't remember like a whole lot of people. Like I just don't remember. I don't remember a Jim Emmett or somebody, and maybe that's just St. Louis. Maybe, people don't. Some people know how to keep their mouth shut, and some people don't. But I'm not, and I can get political. If you want to talk about it, we can talk about it. Hopefully you know more than I do, because if you don't, then you don't know enough. Because I don't know enough. I honestly don't. It's just weird to think that people think that everybody wants to hear what they have to say. And I'm not one of the people. I don't think that people want to hear what I want. Hopefully they do, so they listen to this goddamn show. But I really don't really think that people want, like, because this show's about sports, I really don't think that people want to hear what I got to say about sports. I know a little bit about religion. That was fun to talk about. I know a little bit about myself, so it was fun to say, hey, I need to learn the word no and play Sesame Street songs, or what I took for granted, because I know that's me. I know about me. I will have the conversation with you, but I'm going to tell you right off the bat. Half the stuff that you know what I'm talking about, or half the stuff that we're talking about, I know nothing about. It's just weird. It's just weird to me. I guess I'm just not that kind of person. And that's it. It just doesn't make any sense to me. All right, now let's go to what kind of is always kind of Halloween themed, because, they're always, it's weird. It's sometimes scary. And it's the best part of the show, and that's weird news. We're going to start off with a little video from TMZ here. And hopefully it works.
Yes, I just got off of work, bro.
Hey, listen, bro, I'm gonna stand you up. Before I stand you up, you got anything sharp?
No.
Okay, I'm gonna be cool with you. Just be cool with me, okay, bro?
Oh shit, what the fuck is going on?
Just relax.
I don't have
Hey,
shit.
Javon, do you have any warrants?
No, I don't think no.
Okay, do me a favor, bro. I'm gonna sit you down
Oh
and talk right now.
God. Hey Lima, I'm sorry about this. I don't know what the fuck is going on.
You really don't know her or what?
I know I met her, but we've been talking all day.
Turn to me real quick.
We've been talking all day, man. I'm supposed to get some coochie, man.
Damn, she's over here scared and shit.
Hey Lima, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I'm sorry about that, baby.
Watch her.
Who's the girl? You don't know?
Her name is Lima.
There's a bunch of condoms in the car.
That's for me.
Tonight?
Yes.
Some like walk around.
That's for me.
Hey, Javon. Hey, you got a warrant.
For what?
I think like a domestic violence or something like that. That's kind of like a bullshit warrant, domestic violence. Did you know you had that?
No.
Okay. Yeah, it's from like a case maybe like a year ago or so.
Oh, what the fuck is that?
It's a warrant, bro. $100,000 warrant.
Yeah,
So,
no condoms for him, I guess.
Can I go to, can y'all, if I go handle it or something, can y'all let me go?
And, of course, the video stops working. But anyways, with the rest of that video, it ends up being a conversation about a strap-on and whatever the girl has in her purse. But that was rapper Cass Daddy. TMZ obtained a video of Javin Pee Wee Clayton, formerly a member of the Rejects. I mean, 3-3 drag? Yeah. Getting arrested early Thursday morning by bounty hunters. They told him they were hauling him in for an outstanding domestic violence warrant, but you got to see the video, which we tried to listen to, but yeah. There's not many of that video left, but they talk about strap-ons and stuff like that. I mean, it's hilarious stuff. And some of, people get weird. But anyways, Pee Wee could care less about the charge. He was laser focused on Lima, the woman he met on Instagram, but had finally just met the person right before the bounty hunters took him down. When they told him that they found 3 boxes of condoms in his truck, he fired back, I know, I was about to fuck the shit out of her. His tone changed dramatically when he was told that she also had a particular sex toy. Bad news for Pee Wee. Law enforcement sources tell him his dream girl Lima was actually the confidential informant who dropped the dime on him. And I don't know if that's in the video. LA booked him on a felony domestic abuse, and his bail was set at $100,000. One positive note: Pee Wee's cellmates can bone up on their cat daddy. I mean, things get weird. Go on Pornhub, search whatever. You ain't gotta go on Pornhub. Go to Google, search the most random thing that you would think about for sex, and it's gonna come up. I promise you. People have got, I mean, not just with political, but with anything. That's funny, though. I mean, she was ready, huh? Next story, moving on. Complaints from visitors about being pushed onto a mattress where actors simulated raping them in an edgy haunted house in northeast Nevada has led to the suspension of the actors involved. The Anchor Beacon reports Akron Fright Fest owner Jeremy Caudell says he was shocked and appalled when he learned Monday that what was happening the weekend at his haunted house at Summit County, Springfield Township. Some visitors complained to the newspaper that they were injured by actors who shoved them. 2 customers said they were pushed onto a mattress where actors simulated rape. Caudell said he was still determining what happened and promises additional security and monitoring going forward. Fright Fest is advertised as a hands-on experience with actors getting physical and swearing amongst risky scenes. I don't know what I can say about that. I honestly don't. That's some weird I understand, like, trying to be, like, scary. And simulating rape it's scary when it's happening to real rape's happening. Who came up with that idea? Like, who sat around and said, let's push people down and act like we're fucking them? Weird on this. According to and we got another story. A woman was killed by a falling palm tree in Egmont Key Park Saturday. According to the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office, the woman was lying in a hammock at the park around 4 p.m. when the palm tree fell and hit her. She was identified by Associated Press as 20-year-old Isabella Melinda. She was taken to a Brantford hospital in St. Petersburg where she was pronounced dead. The death does not appear suspicious. No information about how this happened was released. I just think, you're laying there, you're chilling, right? You're chilling in a hammock, which I have a picture on my Facebook of someone having a hammock in the park in DeSoto. Weirdo stuff, right? Right, you know. But anyways, and a fucking palm tree falls on you. How the fuck does a tree fall? Like, I could see it in, like, I don't know, man. Definitely a palm tree. It doesn't seem like they get that big. It seemed like it would be like a strong tree. I mean, she must have had, like, the best hammock of all time. I mean, it's weird on this to me. I mean, that's really weird how that could happen to somebody. All right, from the Detroit Free Press, and I forgot to add the other ones. I usually do say. All right, this is from the Detroit Free Press. A man convicted of murdering his wife 8 years ago has finally shown investigators where he buried a body in exchange for access to an Xbox gaming console and other privileges in the prison. Douglas Stewart led police and medical examiners to a wooded burial site in Waukesha Township in Kalamazoo. Motherfuckers, name your city something I can fucking stand. Like, you go to a lot of counties and it's like Mexico County. Officials in a Waukesha Township, and I can't say that. He was convicted in 2011 of killing his estranged wife, Venus Stewart, but her remains were never found. He really showed no emotion. He was pretty much matter of fact, said Joseph County prosecutor. Now, see, that's easy. St. Joseph. But help me out here, people. Prosecutor John McDowell. He walked the detectives right to where it was, and there it was. The remains are buried in a 5-foot deep hole. Its size helped to confirm the previous knowledge that the murder was premeditated, said Sergeant Todd Peterson. Investigators also uncovered a blue tarp that acted as a key piece of evidence during the case. Stewart buried the remains in a tree-lined area that he used to visit with his father as a teenager about 15 minutes from the alleged site of the murder at Venus's parents' house. Police have searched dozen areas nearby, but never the specific place which he led them to on Monday. McDowell says the remains were positively identified as those of Venus Stewart after dental tests were performed by the medical anthropologist at Western Michigan University. In exchange for the remains, Stewart Specialized Housing Unit in Saginaw Correctional Facility will receive access to an Xbox. Stewart was also asked for privileges released under supervision for his parents' funeral at some point in the future, but that request was denied by the Michigan Department of Corrections. The Michigan Department of Corrections took issue with the idea that the Xbox was a direct confession for showing investigators was a direct concession, for showing investigators Venus remains, and added that no taxpayers' dollars were contributed to the new program. The MNODC believed if we could help the family get closure by exercising these programs that we were already in the process of implementing, then they would work to the advantage of the MSP and the victim's family, said Chris Jocks, a spokesman for the Michigan Department of Corrections. About 140 prisoners and steward journalists will have access to several used and donated consoles for 30 minutes a day to play nonviolent sports games. I wonder if football is considered a nonviolent sport game. Yeah, or hockey. You're about down to football or baseball, huh? The Xbox would be a special model that does not allow an internet connection. But the privileges are contingent on continuing good behavior and nothing has been written and nothing has been written in contract. The minute Doug Stewart doesn't do what he's supposed to do as a prisoner, those things can be taken away by the prison instantly, Peterson said. About a year ago, Peterson put Doug Stewart's sister in touch with Venus's mother. The families became reconnected and began talking for the first time in years. The pressure convinced Stewart to cave in to investigators continuing to find the effort of Venus's body. Now that's crazy. Now he was already in jail for it, so you knew what was going on. But it's still kind of crazy to think about. It's the only way that he was going to tell you if he got a motherfucking Xbox. I guess it's something to do in prison. Some people, sit around and do play Xbox 24/7. I'm not the biggest gaming guy. I like playing a sports game. That's about it, though. But you keep getting one in a motherfucking prison. 30 minutes a day, I wonder if he has a cellmate. I wonder if he could, say, oh, I know this and that. I guess you found the body. And you got the other prisoners on your side. Now they all get Xbox and shit. You're probably going to have to, help you in the long run. That's what I'm going to do. If I kill somebody, I'm going to bury them somewhere where nobody would even think. It'd just be like, hey, you put an Xbox in something, phone myself. I'm not going to murder nobody. We could work something out here. Moving on. This is from Fox News. Rapper John James McMurray died Saturday after attempting to perform a stunt on an airplane for a music video. John James McMurray, 33, had trained months to perform the stunt, his management told CBC News. The rapper was attempting to walk on the ring of a Cessna while the aircraft was flying, but walked too far on the wing and sent the aircraft into a downward spiral. John held onto the wing until it was too late, and by the time he let go, he didn't have time to pull his chute. He impacted and died instantly, Murray's management team said in a statement. His body was found in a field in Westwold. There's no R in there. Westwold? Northwest of Vernon, CBC News reports. No other passengers in the plane were injured. McMurray, who was born in Calgary, was known for his incorporating stunts into his music videos. That's why I don't fuck around with airplanes, number one. Number two, to record a video, I understand some of the stunts, but to be fucking around with an airplane that's moving and flying and all that, I ain't fucking with it. I don't need to be famous by doing airplane. If you're going to be famous for your music, get famous for your music. Don't get famous because you playing around an airplane. This is what happens. This is some Fox 2 news. Police are investigating, and we're moving on to the St. Louis stories. Police are investigating after a teacher was carjacked outside of Rittner Middle School Thursday morning. According to the school district spokesman, the incident occurred just before 7 a.m. in the 2500 block of Marshall Avenue. The teacher was pulling into the facility parking lot when two men approached her and demanded her belongings in her car. She resisted several times, but one of the suspects showed her a gun and grabbed the woman and pulled her out of the car. The stolen vehicle is a white Toyota RAV4. RAV4? Making a murder type shit. That was the Teresa Hellbeck car. The teacher was particularly hurt, wasn't physically hurt, but was very shaken emotionally by the incident. The St. Anne police chief says that they're making good progress in finding the stolen car and that they have learned the suspects are wanted for other crimes. Brazen ass motherfuckers. To do that at a school with kids around, man, come on, people. That's just people not giving a fuck about life. And some of these people that do these crimes, that two kids have kids. They have kids of their own. Hello and welcome back to the Sports Blog on the Greater STL Sports Network. Robert Bolsey with you. You can tweet us at @RBolseyJR. You can tweet the Greater STL Sports Network at Greater STL SN. I had to do a little fixing right there. It's nice that production lets you help with the throwing something in there. All right, last story on weird news, and we could probably edit that out if we really wanted to, but yeah, we'll deal with it. This is from The Leader, a local paper in Jefferson County. Smoke filled the kitchen and laundry room at the Jefferson County Jail in Hillsborough after a small fire started in a dryer, said Assistant Police Chief Brian Goff of the Hillsborough Fire Protection District. These big words are getting me on these ones. The fire was extinguished quickly and none of the inmates had to be evacuated. The jail typically houses between 320 and 370 inmates each day. That's a lot of people for a county fucking jail. I wonder how many are in St. Louis County then. Almost 400 people in the Jefferson County Jail. God damn. The Hillsborough Fire Protection District got a call about the fire around 2:23 a.m. and the firefighters arrived on the scene at 2:26. Upon arrival, the first and pumper crew found smoke visible coming out of the rear of the structure. They were met by corrections officers at the laundry room and the kitchen entrance. They told us they had used several fire extinguishers on the fire and put most of the fire out. Heavy smoke filled the kitchen and laundry room. Gauntlett said. He said firefighters removed the material that was burning in the dryer and finished putting out the fire with a water extinguisher. The firefighters spent about an hour ventilating the building to get rid of smoke and checking the dryer vent and other areas in the laundry room to make sure the fire hasn't spread. Both the laundry room and kitchen had smoke damage. There were also dry powder from the fire extinguisher, he said. It's pretty much a mess down there. Gauntlett said the correction officers handled the fire properly. The correction officers did an awesome job not only in putting the fire out, but making sure the inmates were safe. Gauntlett said they did an excellent job. Well, you can't say that 15 times in one sentence, can you? Gauntlett said the jail was built in a way to minimize the spread of smoke and fire from one place to another. He said the barriers exist to keep fires away from spreading, and the HVAC system automatically maintains a positive pressure to keep smoke from moving from one area of the building to another. In addition, the building has a sprinkler system. The cause of the fire was not determined. We're not sure if it was lint built up or dryer malfunction, but keeping those dryers and kept drying those rags to the point of combustion. So they had some rags in the dryer, obviously. We have lots of dryer fires from residential structures. He said we recommend cleaning out the lint filter after every use. Recommended. No, it has to be done. And every now and then the vent that goes outside, lint builds up in there too. Gauntlett also said the dryer should be used only when something is home to monitor it. The DeSoto infested fire departments and the DeSoto rural Duncan, Hermanite, Melville, Cedar Hill, and Antonia fire districts all assisted with the call. I wonder if 2:30 in the morning, if you could have intentionally set the jail on fire. I wonder if an inmate could figure that out somehow. Like literally, it would be fun. And it'd be kind of fun to be one of the inmates in there thinking the jail's going to burn down. Just for that little brief 10, 15, 20 minutes that the jail's going to burn down. Shit, they got to run you outside. Now I think you're in jumpsuits there. I know some jails let you walk around in your regular clothes. I think St. Charles is one of them. I'm pretty sure so it's going to be hard to get away, but maybe not at 2:30 in the morning whenever they're all, it's dark and shit, It might be a smart thing to try to maybe set that dryer on a little high, heat, a couple hours. Try to burn something up, you know what I'm saying? I mean, it's a good thought. Would I ever do it? I'm not smart enough to do them kind of things. I know how to work on them. I don't know how to use them. I don't know how to make fires out of them, goddamn. All right, that's weird news for the day. I guess we could talk a little blues. And it's not really something that makes me want to, it's not a whole lot that makes me want to talk about the blues. You got to win. I like wins. That's one of my favorite things in the world. But you're still, wow. The goalie thing is really, really getting to me. Now, I mean, it's great. You see the offense score. I mean, that's awesome. I mean, but you have to score 4 to win every game. And scoring's gone way up this year, and it's the talent, and it's nice to see the NHL is getting talent. But and it's nice to see a guy like Tarasenko finally scoring and like finally taking as a leader by, you know, saying, hey, this, you know, we're a shitty team right now. We're playing shitty as can be. And it's just hard to talk about the Blues right now. Now, you come off a big win at home versus the Blackhawks, and you get a nice little 5, 6, 7, 8, 6 games. Your next 6 games at home. 5, but including the, if you want to count the Blackhawks game, which I didn't have written down, of course, which seemed like a year ago. It was 4 days ago. That's what I don't get. And the Blues play tomorrow against, but you have even with you going home, you have a tough schedule coming up. I mean, you're not playing like a bunch of shitty teams. I mean, the worst team you're playing is in a shitty division. The Golden Knights, they're playing bad in a shitty division. That's not good. But, I mean, they have a good goalie. They have a goalie that's won Stanley Cups. But then after that, you got 2 against the Wild. You got 1 against the Hurricanes and 1 against the Sharks, who are all above you in your division. Other than the Sharks, who were 5-3-2, were 5-3-2 at the time I wrote it down, in the Pacific Division. So you're coming on a stretch where you, even though all these games are at home, I mean, you're playing good teams. I mean, the Sharks have got us for the last 5 years. It seems like it's been off and on. The Wild, you would think have know a little bit. Probably know a little bit of Mike Lowe, the way he runs his system. So, I mean, there's 2 games right there that, are going to be hard-fought games. I mean, your best chance is to beat the Wild. And the Jake Allen thing just gets me, man. It really does. And we didn't sign like this great backup goalie. And I understand the money thing. I understand you're trying to get players here. I understand you did it with Maroon. You talked him into a literal contract to save money. But I feel like this team has gotten rid of the money players Laterra, Berglund. I just don't see how this team is still running this low. Definitely with the only big money players it seems like they're on this team are Tarasenko and Pietrangelo and Jake Allen. But you went out there and didn't get a backup goalie. I just don't understand. I really don't understand what the Blues really have in this fascination with freaking Jake Allen. It's a fascination that's happened since, and I guess because they drafted him and they got him here and all that. I mean, I understand trying to build through your system, but it's been so long. I don't know, 5 years it seems like of the same effing thing. Your number 1 goalie last year was Carter Hutton. He was your backup goalie. I mean, this team's not going to stay on scoring 5 goals a game to win a game. You don't have that talent yet. Now, Fabry's coming back. That brings your talent level up if he could stay healthy. You don't have the talent to have a crappy goalie because you don't have the money. And it's all understandable. But if you're going to pay a goalie, you have to pay the right one. You're 0 for 3. Ben Bishop, Brian Elliott, and Carter Hutton. That's just the 3 that have been here. That's just 3 that have been in this organization. That's just this organization, people. That's not even going out and getting free agents. That's not the free agents that have been out there. That's 3 top-tier goalies in the league at the time. Brian Elliott's struggling a little bit. Carter Hutton not doing all that great. Ben Bishop right up there. I mean, I gave you the stats last week. But they're still better than and did you see what Ben Bishop did with Toronto? It just doesn't make any sense to me. And it seems like you got rid of enough money over the past few years. I mean, you did add a guy like Braden Shen, who's probably costing you a little bit of money. But it's just, I don't get it. What I really don't understand is if when they were doing the 2-team league for the AHL thing. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. That means you don't have a whole lot of players if you're splitting your shit with another team. That means you don't have all these type of players. And you see the only ones that come up are Chris Butler, Jordan Smoltz. I mean, it's the same guys every year for the last 2 years. But you're looking at players that were just here since Jake Allen has been named the number one goalie. And it's hard for me to talk about. So I highly just, I mean, if you're a sports fan, I was talking about it earlier, there's not much to watch, and it's, you know, and a lot of just randomness talk about sports on the show today. I just don't get it. And I'm not a person I don't want to get it because I can see it. I really want a conversation of goalies. I want like somebody to get a sneak camera in there with Doug and Bill and I don't know, Brad, I guess, is still here. I want to hear the conversation that they have on Jake Allen. I really want to know what they think, like as of right now. Because, yeah, it looks great. 7-3 on paper looks great. Looks like a freaking baseball score. You don't want your scores to look like baseball scores. You're not going to win that way in the NHL. I mean, even the worst team in hockey scored 7 goals the other night. So, I mean, it's a possible thing to happen. We've had 7 scored on us, I think, the game before that we played the Blackhawks. Against the Blue Jackets. I know, and I wanted to make it up to make sure I was right. But we just lost 7-4 the game before that. 2 days before that. At home, matter of fact. So it's great. It's great to see like a guy like Tarasenko stepping up and being a leader. It's great to hear that they're all pissed off, but it's not going to get any better when you don't have the goalie to help the team out. And not everybody's like, oh, well, the defense. That's why these top tier goalies that have the namesake make saves, not because of their defense and lack of their defensemen. They make the saves that not many people can make. They make the saves. Jake Allen doesn't do that. I haven't seen much Chad Johnson yet. The game I've seen, even though he came in cold, I can't see him being like that Carter Hutton or that Brian Elliott, or even before Brian Elliott, it was Jake Allen or Ben Bishop. I just can't see it, and I guess because that they drafted so many goalies, and they all failed. You got Bennington, you got Vince Hilo. I can't. Phoenix Copley was here. He was a guy that you traded for and then traded right back and let him go. But you had him in the minor league, so you're trying to build him up through your system. It's like a system of nothing. It really is. Now, you kind of hope that like Jake's hurt for a couple weeks, or they sit him down for a while and see what Chad Johnson can do. You kind of hope he's hurt and just is get something else to see something different. To maybe, hey, we can save this. Maybe Husso can come in there. I think I said Hulu the first time. Husso can get in there and maybe look different. Like, maybe put a spark in this team because they need something. And I really think that, like, when you don't have competition behind you, which when you're one of the four liners, definitely now with this team not having that big tough fourth line like you're used to with the Blues, I really think that they play harder when they have competition behind them. And the Blues offense has been playing pretty well. One of the top power play teams in the league. But Jake Allen knows he doesn't have competition behind him. And so I don't think that, I think that's a -1 thing behind him. I think that he knows that, so he doesn't have, not that he doesn't have to, but hey, who's going to replace me? I think that takes something off your competitive edge. I really think it does. And there's nothing else to talk about, so I'm just going to sit here and bitch about the Blues, and, there's just nothing else, there's nothing really going on. And that's why I got to talk the shit I've been talking and do, 45 weird news stories, because it's not something I want to talk about. And it's not understandable. Well, now that the World Series is over, you can start looking into free agency for the Cardinals. Boston won the series 4-1. Best team from the start, best team from the finish. That's kind of like what you would like to see. Is the best team do it. Now, if you're a diehard fan of your team, then yeah, you probably don't want to see it. But if you're a sports fan, I mean, it's kind of, you see the team take it from the top or take it from the end. Definitely if it's not going to be a wild card team. Not if it's like that team that makes it in the last day and then, like, I really want, like, in those games 163 and then they had to play 164 and then, then you go through the NLDS and then the CS and the World Series. Like, if it's not one of them teams, not one of the Cinderella teams, it's kind of cool to see, it's kind of, what happened should have happened. The Boston Red Sox could have won. Now, there's already been odds put out on free agents. Bryce Harper, top 5 teams, not the Cardinals. Manny Machado, top 5 teams, not the Cardinals. Josh Donaldson, top 5 teams, number 1's the Cardinals. I don't know if I really want Josh Donaldson. And I did it last week. I did it on the last show about like what the Cardinals really need. I haven't seen the pitchers yet. I mean, and the people are going to look into the positions that they think they need a middle of the lineup hitter. Well, if Zuno comes around, that shoulder is better. You have a halfway decent middle of the lineup hitter. You kind of need a secondary hitter because you do have positions filled already. If you're going to spend the money, you need to spend it on your bullpen and probably get another starter, which they seem to do almost every other year, is to get that 5th guy, the Jake Westbrooks of the world, Kyle Loesch. There's always somebody out there they've seen that they want to pick up on and give a minor league contract, and then all of a sudden it seems like they make the team over a younger guy that didn't have the greatest spring training. I like the growing up thing. I like the grow up through the system. I like all that. I said that earlier. I just hope that there's something that this team sees, unlike the Blues can see, that they don't just need one guy. Because you need more than one guy to survive. And at this point, who really